Well, my next guest is ABC News contributor and former commander of the United States forces in Korea, General Robert Abrams. General, good to see you. You know, the White House is warning that Iran could produce a nuclear weapon within a couple of weeks. But back in March, as you remember, National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard said the U.S. did not believe Iran was actively building a nuclear weapon. So which one is it? I mean, this reminds me a lot of Iraq. As you remember, we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction, and we saw how that war turned out.
Kira, good afternoon. My sense exactly. I feel like I've been in this movie before, and I was a brigade commander back in 2003 when the White House and Department of State and our Secretary of State laid out a very compelling argument that was based on bad intelligence. Our intelligence community, I believe personally, is the best on the planet, but they're not 100% infallible. There's always going to be some margin of error. And I think the case has to be made to not only to the president, but to the Congress of the United States and hopefully the United States people of this compelling evidence. I think part of the challenge in this particular case and with Iran is that a lot of this intelligence is going to be human intelligence, and these sources and methods have to be guarded very, very closely, or they end up dead. So it's a really tricky thing. But right now, no intelligent case has been made, and I think that is a big shortcoming right now.
And what we learned was that Donald Rumsfeld and President Bush and President Bush's father had beef with Saddam Hussein. That's what that came down to. So what do you make of this timing behind Trump now making this decision to wait 2 weeks? He's approved these attack plans, but he says, I'm going to give it a timeline here. I'm going to think about this for 2 weeks. I mean, a lot can happen in that time.
Yeah, and I think waiting 2 weeks is actually a good move and allow diplomacy to work. Talks are ongoing, as mentioned in the run up to this show. European members meeting with Iran's foreign minister. Talking is by far the preferred method, right? Talk instead of fight. Right now, we're talking and fighting, and as long as we're talking, though, there's always room for a potential deal. Now, it would be irresponsible to speculate as to where these talks are going, but the positive side that I think everyone should see is that there are talks ongoing. Diplomacy is an option, and the president is allowing that effort to work. And you're right. You're exactly right. A lot of things can change in 2 weeks. So, but we're going to allow diplomacy to work for now, and I think that's very good.
So ABC has now confirmed that Iran has used missiles with multiple warheads within its attacks against Israel. Do these missiles have the capacity to inflict greater damage than normal missiles? And can they penetrate missile defense systems like the Iron Dome?
Yeah, so the missile warhead itself is no more lethal than other warheads. The real challenge becomes when you have multiple warheads coming out of one missile, let's say, it makes it a very difficult targeting problem for radar. And we've got the best radar, in the world, and the Iron Dome's got great radar systems. But again, when you have multiple warheads coming off of these missiles, it makes the computation and the fire direction and then the engagement very, very difficult. But Kira, we got to be really clear. Nothing is impenetrable. Iron Dome is a really good system, augmented with U.S. assets, but it's not impenetrable. And I'd say that's also true what's protecting U.S. forces. We've got some 40,000 U.S. forces in the region, and none of them have an impenetrable bubble over top of them either. So if Iran was to choose, for instance, in retaliation of any U.S. participation to target U.S. forces, the risk is going to be incredibly high for our forces.
Do you think the regime would respond if the U.S. directly attacks Iran?
I think we should assume that they will, either directly with their own forces or through proxy forces. And I say that with the strongest terms. They've done this before when Soleimani was taken out. A few years back, there was an immediate direct ballistic missile attack against Al-Assad Air Base. Thankfully, no one was killed, but we had multiple injured with significant traumatic brain injuries because of the volume of fire that hit Al-Assad. You could expect, I think, something much worse than what we saw when Soleimani was killed.
Always great to have you in on these conversations, especially with your experience, General Robert Abrams. Great to see you, sir.
Thanks, Kara.